I'll call to order a meeting of the Houghton City Council for Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. Would everybody please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First of all, we'll have the roll call, and as I see it, we have every member present for this meeting. Review and approval of the agenda.
I've got nothing, sir.
Nothing to add. All right. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the council? Come on up and identify yourself.
My name is Mary Kaminsky, and I have the Vernomize wrap-up from this past weekend. We had 26 participants, 16 adults and 10 kids. Talent ranged from being their very first triathlon to a 2-time Ironman triathlete. We had Melissa Lewis, Verna's cousin, there to help with the awards. I felt I was in the presence of royalty. Mike Axford created the results sheet. I have handouts for you. We paid the lifeguards right away out of the entry fees. I distributed thank you cards to the Sheriff's Department, Police Department, Coast Guard, and all supporting businesses. Many of those that I was able to talk with said it went really well, and they're all in for next year. Chickadees wants to up their involvement and become a major sponsor for next year's triathlon. I emailed all volunteers and participants, thanking them again. I submitted a letter to the editor with an extensive list to all who made this a success. We added a SISU award for the athlete who crashed her bike and insisted on finishing the race. A person gave me a check for $350 to help cover the cost of the Vernomize Triathlon in memory of an avid triathlete, John Hilder. I had a few other people who wanted to make donations, and I wasn't sure which way to go with this. I talked with the credit union about opening an account just for these funds for next year, but I did not commit to anything until I asked you what I should do. I want to read 2 adorable messages to express just how well it went this year. The first one. He was happy to run his first triathlon. He could not sleep at all last night.
The recording has stopped.
See, he couldn't wait. As he couldn't wait. His father just happened to see the newspaper article in the paper last night. Thanks for making the end of their vacation in the Keweenaw a most memorable and fun one. And the other one. Training for this event really got her started on a fitness routine. It's been great. She's already planning to run the race next year. And I have the results and a time sheet and a letter to the editor that I can pass around. Does anybody have any questions on anything?
Well, I want to say thank you, Mary, for getting that started and organized and all the work you put into it.
You're welcome. That's
And
fun. I have great people helping me.
it's a great start, and who knows how it's going to grow as we go into the future.
Thank you.
Super. Is there anybody else who would like to address the council at this time? All right, moving along, petitions and communications.
Yes. We have a letter from the Hosey family of Calvary Avenue. I meant to send an email to the city about the excellent work done on our street, replacing the water and sewer main hookups. We were not in our homes, so when we arrived last Friday night, we didn't have water. However, the city had someone come immediately, which we totally didn't expect because we are used to the lack of service in Grand Rapids. Within 20 minutes, we were 100% back in business. It was unreal and so greatly appreciated. We also added another lane of concrete to our single driveway 4 years ago when we purchased our home. The city did a superb job with the blacktop. Again, we were preparing ourselves to be disappointed, but it was beautiful. They took the extra time to make the connections even with the other original pad with a straight line. So grateful for your workmanship. These are 2 reasons we are proud to call Houghton our small town home. We have a letter from Dave Olson of Houghton. I walk the waterfront trail up to my house 3 to 4 times a week. I'm very thankful that some giant and smaller holes in the walk and bike path have been patched. Thank you so much for making the trail even better and safer. A letter from Jim Patel of Lakeshore Drive. On August 16, 2019, an article ran in the Daily Mining Gazette. Developers present their Houghton waterfront ideas. I hadn't been attending the council meetings, so this was a complete surprise, not just to me, but to everyone I talked to. On August 21st, I wrote a letter to the Houghton City Council expressing my concerns about selling these public properties in the heart of our downtown. My main concern was, and still is, selling to a single developer without considering whether better options exist. My letter, along with 22 other letters and citizen comments, were heard by the council on August 30th. The overwhelming majority of comments were critical of the plan being presented. Discussion by the council was very short and concluded with needing to get this show on the road. The council voted 5-2 to select Viridia and proceed without further discussion. It is very clear that this process, allowing public comments while keeping them separate from the decision process, is not what Houghton citizens expect for our downtown's future. 79% of Houghton voters asked to postpone the property sale so that all stakeholders would be able to participate in the decision process. In my view, the recent pre-charrette was an encouraging step in the right direction. Admittedly, a full charrette needs to engage planners, city officials, architects, citizens, and other stakeholders in a longer, more expensive process. If the council votes against investing in the full charrette, then what decision process will be used in its place? Have we contacted other third-party planners? For example, Beckett and Rader Group offers facilitation, planning, and technical expertise and have been used successfully by several leafy towns to guide them through downtown planning and decision-making. We all hold a great deal of affection for our downtown. It is in the heart of our community. Let's make the investment to get it right. We have one more letter from Nora Birunak of Houghton. I commend the city for recognizing the need to engage the public in determining a path for the parking deck area and sincerely hope the council will utilize a full charrette process to engage area residents in determining this direction. I believe the best outcome will only come by utilizing professionals who have experience in engaging the public, are unbiased, and are experienced in soliciting a wide range of input, and then paring down that input to present viable options. I do not believe our current city councilors and planning commission members are trained and have experience in this process. I also believe that we truly need someone from outside the city to lead the process so that beliefs and ideas that may be held by individual commission members do not influence nor direct the outcome of the public engagement process. $90,000 is a small investment in light of the impact a change to the parking deck property may have. I also believe it is best to not totally isolate the parking deck area in the charrette process. The Viridia proposal included apartments and condos, and some have said we need space to hold conferences. By looking at Houghton as a whole in a full charrette process, better sites may be identified for these types of amenities. I strongly encourage the city to hire an outside professional to lead the public engagement process. If you're going to take the time and effort to do this, then the process should be conducted in the best manner possible.
That's it. All right, thank you. All right, next on our agenda, public hearings, we do not have this evening, so we'll move to reports. City manager.
So Public Works has been up to, hydrant flushing is completed, which we're grateful for because the phone calls have stopped about that. They fixed the, water leak here and there, those things have come up. We did install some storm pipe and some ditching up on Birch Street, which, has been needed for a few years and we had the time to get around to that. They've also been working on the road base on Sherwood Drive. That's one of the roads we're going to repave this summer. And on getting in there and starting to look at it, we need to do some base work before we have somebody come and repave that road because that road was put in a bit of a hurry at the time. There's some rocks and things that need to come out of that subgrade. So they've been building that new subgrade. So when we get it paved this time, it'll have a proper bed under it. So they've been working on that. They've been doing kind of a midsummer cleanup of downtown. I noticed there's been a lot of public works personnel around kind of spiffing things up and moving things. So and plus, summer is a good vacation time for public works because they don't get a lot of time in the winter. So we're operating, on usually about a 2/3 crew most weeks, especially this time of the year. And they've been working with Baco on starting milling some of the streets from our paving project, so that's going to get going in full force here pretty soon. Sharon Avenue, the culvert project, everybody saw they paved it. They probably should be painting the lines right now. The plan is tomorrow to reset the traffic light up there, hold the traffic control. Hopefully by tomorrow's afternoon rush hour, the road's going to be open just like it was. So that should also help, ease some of the traffic in Houghton with that open tomorrow. The bridge at Narra Park, the work is done. They're in punch list on that right now. I had asked if they could pull the barricades because if it's safe to walk on, let's get it open. But they still have to run through the punch list inspection on that if there's any additional work, but that's pretty much done. The lift bridge, of course, everybody's favorite subjects right now. I've been, again, I know myself, Chief Donnelly, we've all been talking with MDOT. They've been great, trying different things. But one thing that seems to really have worked out is once they were able to widen the single traffic lane out, things flowed a lot better there. And that's because they had to work really close to the center line, so to speak. So, but other things that may be occurring here as we go is there's going to be a hiatus in some of this, the tooth work that they're doing right now. There's going to be a hiatus in there coming up in the future. So there may be some periods of time, hopefully some extended periods of time where, one or both lanes on each side of the bridge is open. And again, just keep working with them in little tweaks, and I think Chief and I got to have another discussion. I know he and I were throwing traffic cones out last week on Montezuma Avenue to try to keep people from cutting in line, and they seem to disappear or get run over. So I think we're going to put some more extreme measures out there with Public Works to try to keep traffic flowing where it should, because part of the snarl that happens is when people try to sneak in and get in the line and not wait their turn, unfortunately. But and then just for the good of the order, it's not in Houghton, but Quincy Creek, that's the shutdown between here and Lake Linden. That's on schedule according to MDOT, so that should be opened up again pretty soon, and that should help restore some normal traffic. Tomorrow night at Kessner, we've got the Thursday night concert. Century 21's been great about sponsoring that. Outlaw's playing tomorrow night. I was walking around town last night, and between the farmers market and the music, again, it's just it's a good thing. A lot of people enjoying themselves. The press release went out today. You may have seen the sign when you walk in. I hung it up for the end of summer / community night out, Labor Day weekend. Press release is out. I'm sure all the members of the press have it. And so in Houghton, of course, we'll be having the fireworks at dusk, which again is early, 9:17 p.m., which is kind of nice, versus quarter to 11 or 11 o'clock, like Bridge Fest. We're going to be having an art on the town sort of night, like we did the artist market back in November and December last year. We're going to kind of do the same concept again for that afternoon and evening, and that's from 4 to 7. And there'll be music and that artist market on the subway deck that night. And I know the chamber, between the chamber and the media, will keep this information going, that social media and people are kind of looking forward to it. It is certainly not Bridge Fest 2.0, as some people may have called it, but it's something to look forward to at the end of summer. So we're hoping everybody can get out and support the local businesses, support the local artists, and just have a good time in Houghton Hancock that night. Also looking at a boat parade that night. We're gonna see how that can be put together. We've got a couple of weeks to figure out who's gonna lead a boat parade down there, so we'll keep working on that. Other than that, I'm just gonna read off 10 good things real quick. And Coffee Range Depot's open. They opened in between the last meeting and this one. Had several breakfasts down there and been left full every time and happy. There's a great new resting area by the powerhouse. We shuffled some of our outdoor accoutrements around, and you should get down there and check that out. It's kind of a nice place to sit down there on that corner by the powerhouse by the boat launch. We got two more murals installed downtown and a bunch more on their way. Public Works has been prepping those and putting them up as we get them. So it's just adding more color and art to all the spaces we can find. We're starting to run out of spaces to put murals, but we'll keep looking for more places. We got the new bike and pedestrian path along Sharon Avenue, which goes on to Park Avenue's open, and it's getting used. We got a little landscaped area, and we got a ton of shrubs and flowers were all donated for that. I want to thank Ryan Haven from our Public Works Department. He donated a bunch, and Greg Osterreich and Alan Sun from Sherwin-Williams all donated a bunch of stuff for that, and those are really appreciated because we brought some boulders from Public Works, and I even understand the other day somebody was sitting on one of the boulders eating their lunch just watching traffic. So maybe we'll put a bench up there too. Sixth on the list, I have a driveway still full of donated shrubs from Ryan at Public Works. He's been doing some gardening at home and splitting some stuff, so we'll find other homes for those around the city. I just mentioned Sharon Avenue should be back to regular traffic flow tomorrow. And I really want to give a special shout out to Mary on the Vernomized Triathlon. I mean, it was a lot of fun. She put a heck of a lot of work into it, and it's really appreciated. And we really look forward to that next year. And I'd actually like to also get a couple of counselors there, Councilor Cole and Councilor Suits were there as volunteers, which helped that event out. And I know everybody, I didn't see anybody frowning except maybe when they were coming back from the run, but I don't see a lot of runners smiling at the end of a race. Next week, MEDC is actually going to have a contingent up here next week, just to see how their support has helped us and what we're doing to help ourselves. So them coming all the way up here with the new director for a visit, I think it speaks volumes to what we've been working at here for years. So we're looking forward to that. And like it or not, we got some rain and the sunflowers are blooming. And for those sunflowers, I want to send out a thanks to Shelby Santee, who donated those sunflowers that got distributed throughout the downtown. And now they're starting to bloom, and as things come in, or as things bloom, they die, and other things take their place, and it's been a good summer for that. So, any questions on anything?
I don't have a question, but in addition to other great things, let's thank our city manager, Eric Warren, who awesome helped out and Vernomized setting up the buoys in his kayak.
What else was I gonna do at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning?
There you go.
That was fun.
Anything else for Eric?
I do have a question, since it got brought up, somebody was appreciating some patching going on the Waterfront Trail. Is there still a chance that we're going to have any significant paving done on the Waterfront Trail?
We're still working on that, setting up the paver, getting in the queue for significant amounts of pavement is awfully tough this year. There's a lot of blacktop going down in this area, and we got to wait our turn to get some.
But we're trying.
We're trying, yeah.
All right.
All right. Anything else? All right, moving along, police department.
All right. Our department answered 126 calls for service. During that time, we made 1 felony arrest, 6 misdemeanor arrests. We issued 15 civil infractions. We answered 8 accidents and had 19 calls for health and safety. The traffic congestion has been a big part of our department. We're still fielding a lot of calls. People trying to come up with different solutions. As the city manager said, we closed off a couple of side streets. It was giving, MDOT talks about the zipper effect where one car goes and the next car goes. Well, 3 to 1 we're getting in from the M26, stopping US 41, so US 41 wasn't moving at all. People had asked about shutting the light off downtown. At the end of the day, there's only so many cars going across that bridge at a time. We have been in discussion with MDOT about trying to restrict the sailboat crossings, which is, I talked to Lee Sewell, who lives in Ohio, and he recommended a new bridge and alternative roads, and I'm trying to point out the fact that it's not just the sailboat that comes through at between 4:30 and 5:30 right now. If a sailboat comes through at 2 and one comes through at 3 and another boat comes through at 4, people that are waiting in line have to add that 30 minutes on at 5 o'clock because that congests that traffic so high. They did restrict the sailboat traffic where they cannot go through at 4:30 to 5:30 right now, which is a help. They've been working with the county controller, Ben Larson. He wants to try to get some more permanent stoppages in that where the recreational sailboats will not automatically always have the right of way during peak time. So we'll continue to work on that. Myself and Polly, we went down to Marquette PD. They had an accreditation inspection go on through there. I know I've been talking about that a little bit through here. That's a long process. They've been at it for, I think, since 2018. It's kind of an expensive endeavor also, and that's one of the ones that we had put in for a grant. We'll hopefully find out in October if we're getting the monies for that. But it was very impressive to see what they've done with that department as far as getting everything lining up to what they're doing, what their operation is, lining up with what their policies are. So hopefully that's something we can move forward to and work our department in that direction also.
Okay. Questions, comments for John? All right. Thank you, John. Next, I would entertain a motion regarding our consent agenda consisting of the previous minutes and accounts payable.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and supported to approve the previous minutes and pay for the bills under accounts payable. Is there further discussion? Will you poll council?
McDowell?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
Backen?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
And Salem?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Moving on, unfinished business we do not have. So we'll move to new business. A, Phase 2 Water and Sewer Project Final Change Order.
And I guess this is always the fun one because it's the final change order. This is the balancing change order for the project where they count up everything that was installed and balance the contract out at the end. So requesting that the contract increase by $63,914.83 to balance out the quantities on the project for what they installed. And this is within the project contingency funds. So it's already, there was a contingency left in the project for the final balancing change order. So and in a quick memo on that, you can see the backup information there, just requesting council's authorization to sign the final balancing change order for this.
Move.
Okay, I know there's more. Okay, moved and supported to approve the water and sewer project final change order. Is there further discussion? The poll council.
Salem?
Yes.
McDowell?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Backen?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1814, Phase 2 Sewer Final Pay Application.
So this is the final pay application for the sewer system phase 2, which this would be the final draw on our USDA dollars, and any remaining dollars essentially just get canceled from the grant. They get rotated back into the USDA system to help someone else someday. So requesting approval of Danielson Contracting payment application number 8, which is the final pay application of $204,438.15.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve resolution 2021-1814, Phase 2 Sewer Final Pay Application. Is there further discussion? Will you poll council?
Needham?
Yes.
McDowell?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Backen?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
And Salem?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, resolution 2021-1815, Phase 2 Water Final Pay Application.
And again, this would be the final payment for the water portion of phase 2, Danielson Contracting's final pay application number 10 in the amount of $96,809.46, and a final invoice from UP Engineers for $1,188.30 for a total of $97,997.76. which would be drawn from USDA, which there will be dollars left in our USDA funds, which typically USDA instructs us to apply that to the principal on the loan portion of it.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Or
Moved and supported to approve 2021-1815 Phase 2 Water Final Pay Application. For further discussion, will you poll the council?
Cole?
Yes.
McGowan?
yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
All right, that passes. Next, engineering RFQ, water-related infrastructure grant.
So Ann gave you a short memo yesterday, or the other day with the packets, and I actually had a little longer memo because MEDC gave us a relatively short time burn on the amount of time we had to put out for an RFQ for engineering. And there's two components to the engineering, so to speak, on this water-related infrastructure grant. One is the design engineering, that's the person that does the plans for the project and the bidding. And there's a second memo here for the environmental assessment portion, which is separate of the design engineering. That's the environmental assessment that has to be done as part of the funding application process. So what we did is went through MEDC and worked with them, put out an RFQ for engineering services, and put that out to the 3 local firms here. It didn't make sense to post an ad in a national newspaper. And there was three requested. 2 of the local firms returned a letter declining to send us an RFQ simply because they're too busy, or it's just they can't fit it into their schedule. We did get 1 SOQ back from UP Engineers on this, and again, they've been working for the city for 50 years probably. And of course, their experience and everything that's in that SOQ speaks volumes of their ability to do that work required for the design and construction, bidding and management for the water-related infrastructure grants. So looking at requesting with that, it's recommended that the council move forward with UPEA as the engineer of record for the MEDC water-related infrastructure grant work, with a contract for work on a negotiated time and materials not to exceed basis for the scope of engineering for the water, sewer, and related work with the grant application, with any necessary concurrences from MEDC.
Need a motion for that, please.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported to approve the request on the RFQ water-related infrastructure grant. Any further discussion? We poll the council.
McGowan?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes.
Needham?
Yes.
Bracken?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
All right, and that passes.
Okay, so I have part 2 before we go on.
Over.
Because you're very well. But part 2 before we go on, as part of this, I also mentioned the environmental review, environmental assessment bids. So with that, the state has a pre-qualified list of engineering and environmental firms which can do this. So what we did is we sent out an RFP for the environmental work, which is a much smaller scope of work than the design project. We sent that out via email to everybody we could get on the list. Got a couple of declines, simply because of workload and proximity and things like that, but we did get 5 back. And if you look at the memo, we got 5 responses offering those services that are required by MEDC as part of the grant administration. This isn't actually an engineering thing, this is environmental for the grant administration. We got 1 bid from AST Environmental for $2,200, Envirologic for $5,000, Environmental Resources at $5,900, Triterra at $2,800, and then UPEA, the one firm in the Upper Peninsula pre-qualified to do this work, for $3,500. And I'm just going to read this last paragraph, because instead of I already wrote it, so I might as well just read it. Typically, with such a spread between the low and high bids, and with several bids in hands, I don't recommend going with low bid, especially with that spread, and I wouldn't in any case. And for that matter, neither of the high bids considering the spread as well, simply because it probably was, they threw a number at it. If they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. And of the remaining two, the lower quote from Triterra, which is another downstate firm, didn't include any site visit. It was specifically said that if they need to come up here to do their environmental, it's gonna cost you extra. It specifically said that in their proposal. So the remaining quote was from a local firm, which would presumably include visitation of the site since it's right in town here. So with that, I would recommend that the council move forward with UPDA to do the WRI environmental assessment work at their stated price, subject to MEDC concurrence.
Move to approve as recommended by the city manager.
Support?
Moved and supported to approve using UPEA, the cost of $3,500, correct?
That's correct, and that is actually grant eligible. I mentioned that up earlier. That's, MEDC is actually paying that. That's not, we have the contract, but it's part of the grant process that MEDC pays that cost.
Okay. So further discussion? Will you poll the council?
Keyhill?
Yes.
Salem?
Yes.
Suits?
Yes.
Acton?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Holt?
Yes.
Irizarry?
Yes.
All right, and that passes. Okay, moving along. Public engagement for Lakeshore Drive redevelopment.
So I just want to say some words on the parking deck. You know, at the last meeting, the council voted 6-1 to begin the process of exploring how to take down the deck and in parallel, start a process for public engagement on ideas, thoughts, what have you, on what life after the current deck might look like. Contrary to the posts people have shown me and some of the phone calls I've received, the deck is not coming down tomorrow, it's not coming down next month, nor have we set a date yet. The plan is though, when it comes down on our terms. Not because of some emergency or because we have to start closing more sections of it. Not saying that can't happen, but certainly want to try to avoid that. That recommendation from the subcommittee, the planning commission, and then the council vote was a result of looking at this issue for what feels like forever now, but we've been talking about this for years. That big parking deck has been a drain on the taxpayers for decades, and right now it needs over $1 million of work just to open up the parts that are closed. Some of those parts over there, worrystones over there. And probably a lot more if we want to keep it for another few decades. We're talking millions of dollars here. We've been through the numbers at least twice for what it would cost the taxpayers to make those repairs or replace it, and those numbers are staggering, and I would be happy to go through those with anybody who wants again. And I'll say again, if there somehow appears to be some pot of money that would allow us to fix it or just replace it and not further burden the taxpayers, then great. My predecessor and now I have been looking for that pot of gold and haven't found it yet. We never stop looking, but if we do find it or someone shows us where it is, I'll probably be the happiest of all because my job just got a lot easier. So this move forward will allow us, the city, our downtown, to move forward. Parallel to the planning on how to take it down, we'll work on a plan for what comes next. Is it another parking deck? Is it a park? How did the business access work? Where's everyone gonna park? That plan for what comes next, if I understand what we're supposed to be doing, is going to be discussed and debated through facilitated public engagement. Yep, let's have some open houses with someone other than us at the helm. Let's take comments, get ideas, but also let's do the math and look at who should pay for it. Let's look at parking needs. Let's talk about whether or not we have most of our parking spaces on the waterfront in the first place. We can talk about a new deck, green space, elevators, pigeons, bridges, people's back doors, sunlight, everything. We'll talk about it. The point is, we now have a lot of talking to do, and we're gonna do what we said we're gonna do. So, I've had some preliminary discussions with Pat Coleman of North of 45 about facilitating some initial public engagement. What do we want this life after the deck to possibly look like? And for those of you who don't know him, Pat's a very experienced planner who's been was very involved with our first modern master plan about a decade ago. And he can put together a program, get that input, collate it, analyze it, give it back to us, and then we can look at what comes next. Maybe we're gonna have a charrette, but we're gonna start somewhere. So if we had 2 or 3 sessions, facilitated engagement sessions, I would expect it to run in the $5,000 to $8,000 range. So when we could hold the first one next month, I'd like to hold the first one soon, based on a lot of things. So it'll take about that long to get things together, but I recommend that we make that commitment and get this started, and then see where it goes from there. Because whatever we learn from that 1, 2, or 3 engagement sessions isn't gonna go to waste if we proceed forward with something else. But right now, we're headed down the same road we were before, where people read a headline and then write whatever they want after that, and we'll be right back where we were a couple of years ago. So, does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
So the 5 to 8 is for up to 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
up to 3.
Up to 3, okay, thank you.
Questions for Eric?
I think one thing that might be beneficial, because I have seen some of the public social media comments and they can be aggravating at times. Would be maybe to have a public statement, and you know the numbers, Eric, you know how much it would cost to take the deck down.
We've done this
I
3 or 4 times.
know that.
Put it in the paper.
I know it's been done, I know it's been in the paper. One more time. You know, so what you're saying then is Pat Coleman is going to come in to discuss, design the process of facilitating public.
No,
engagement?
he's gonna do the facilitated public engagement. We'll have, whether you wanna call it a pre-charrette or an open house or an ideation session, but put together that program, boil it down. I mean, the parking deck subcommittee of the planning commission put together a pretty good matrix of, you wanna call it, issues or qualifying statements about the future. And, you know, maybe we'll work through some of those things, but to get this facilitated public engagement, because by and large, most of the engagement that we've gotten, it either ends up from social media and then somebody turns their phone around and shows it to me, but you know what we got? Few, none, if few, however you wanna look at ideas. You got people that want everything from green space to condos to, let's just leave the parking deck there. Let's have that discussion, let's talk about it, instead of people just running their keyboards ad nauseum without good information. And my phone number's public. I'm back there generally 5 days a week. You know, all this commentary, I've never gotten one phone call, not anything. And yes, it is very frustrating just to see that and see what direction we're going again. I relied on the truth being the truth last time, but this time, no, we're gonna start this process now. Because evidently the truth doesn't matter so much anymore.
I don't know Pat Coleman, I'm sorry, does he have experience with this kind of,
Pushing 50 years, I think. Pat worked on our 1982 waterfront plan. He's been a planner in this neck of the woods for a generation, and he's very well respected. MEDC uses him as a consultant on a lot of things, and I've known Pat for close to 30 years, and I know he could do this.
He did a great job during our master planning process 10 years ago, helping us put together open houses and surveys for the community. It was because of him that we were able to do that successfully.
He's also done a lot of work with the Winter Cities program.
Yes.
And I think he's
Yes, he
kind of wrote a
spearheaded
book.
that,
That's right.
He wrote the book.
I have heard about Winter Cities.
Yeah, and Pat's pretty much the author behind that.
I would suggest, Eric, to start moving forward.
Get going, we'll set a date.
So you're talking
Do it.
September?
Yeah, I think, you know, a couple of weeks to talk to Pat and really look at how to structure it. and then to get the press out on it, give people
Sure.
time to plan for that night or whatever it is.
Oh, sure.
The first one, give people time to set their schedules up because these are gonna be important, so we don't wanna say, oh, we're gonna have it next Tuesday. No, give it some time so people can get ready.
Oh, no.
Okay, so could we have a motion then to spend up to $8,000?
Can I ask just one more question?
Oh, okay.
And I just want to understand that it sounds like this is the starting point of what may blossom into a larger process.
It may.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're
Sure.
taking step one.
Yes.
Okay.
What was that amount again, Ann?
Up to 8,000, and then where it's coming from, which I believe it's already.
Planning. It's all planning.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be safe because I want to make sure that we don't hamstring ourselves later. So I'm going to make a motion for Eric to proceed as described and for up to 10,000 out of planning. Because I want to make sure that if in the next 2 weeks something comes up and he feels like it might be a little more, I don't want it to pause for 2 weeks. I want him to move. The difference to me between 8 and 10,000 is not that much, and I don't think it's going to make him run away and lost cash or something. Everybody agrees anyway.
Support that motion.
Okay, we have support. All right, motion's been made to have Eric set up a meeting, and using up to $10,000. $10,000. Is there further discussion? Full council.
Needham,
Yes.
Salem,
Yes.
Suits,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Irizarry.
All right, that passes. All right, next, future agenda items.
So person here,
You may.
because it's kind of dovetails into that last topic. And it's something that has, in fact, Councilor Suits kind of touched on it a little bit here, and it's been gnawing at me since our last meeting. And it's the things that go on social media on this topic, on this last topic. And I wouldn't have thought much about this if it was just people who have literally no connection to the city. Because you can read you can go to a Facebook page like the New York Times and literally see 50,000 comments and not know who the people are. But going through something that has 11 comments and you can clearly see who the people are, it really got me going. So what I thought, after a lot of consideration, without anybody's names, I just wanted to give some samples of the reaction to a whole lot of work leading up to a vote at the last meeting to accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission to do what we just talked about tonight. Started with a downtown business owner, a longtime downtown business owner, sharing the Gazette story that had the headline, "End of an Era." So if anybody gets the paper, they saw that headline a couple days after our meeting, I think it was, that said, "End of an Era. Houghton Council votes to start process for tearing down deck and finding replacement." That was the literal headline. And then if you read the story, it read exactly like what Eric just described was our motion and what we're proceeding with from the last meeting. So that downtown business owner shared it, but shared it with the commentary, a general commentary that was continued frustration, thinking that we were just going to tear the deck down. It was very much as if this person had not read any of the things in the story. And I'm pretty sure this particular person has not attended any of the meetings. So then the responses start. And these are, and I'm going to refer to these folks, these are just highlights, by who they are, or what they are, not who they are, what they do, what their connection is. Very first person, somebody who knew them told me they're not a city resident. She actually admits that in this, but she says, what the heck, I'm paraphrasing, what the heck are they thinking? They just don't want to spend the money to fix this. Downtown businesses will definitely suffer. I've kind of just decided I'm not even going to editorialize. I'll just read it and let it sit. The same person continues, and again, this is not a city resident. "I truly don't think the city manager, mayor, or council really care. I don't really have a say because I'm not a resident of the city and I can't vote." The original posting person, the business owner, said, "I agree with you completely." I'll just leave that at that. So she agrees that we don't care. Says a lot of things I'll skip over. There's a little bit of back and forth about, does anybody have any idea how to try to get some of Biden's infrastructure funds, and then there's some political commentary that has nothing to do with anything. General questions. I'm curious to know if the city has been researching grants available for repair. Clearly not aware of what we talk about in these meetings. All right, so now another business owner chimes in downtown. Just what they wanted. Doesn't seem to matter if people use or want it. The only voice of reason, in my opinion, one post, somebody says, there is a possibility they could replace it with another similar structure. They didn't vote yet on what to replace it is. Here's a video of the last meeting. He shared the video that I think Josh Vissers took, the YouTube video. Yet another downtown business owner, longtime business owner, who I don't think has been at all of the meetings, but some in this case, talks as if the city is going to tear it down immediately. Clearly either trying to inflame opinion or not listening to what we talk about in here. Talks about how there's no real plan and it's going to be suicide for the downtown. She adds, the Houghton decision makers don't seem to have much skin in the game to me. Prior business owner comments, this is sickening. It feels like they're hell-bent on killing the downtown. So it's a downtown business owner who believes we are hell-bent on killing the downtown. Person replies to that, and this is an employee of our paper, I understand, says, you are spot on. I'll skip a bunch of things here. Another downtown business owner. Parking sucks already for my customers. Without the deck, I will definitely be moving my business. Now a business owner in the mall, I happen to know. Come on, people, this new plan is the dumbest plan without a plan that I've ever heard. No plan to replace, nowhere to park. You all might want to consider moving back to the mall. She adds, maybe the plan is not to have money or a plan so they can sell it. So I finally chimed in. I really tried not to on this. In fact, I wanted my wife to so that I could maintain 1 degree of separation from all of this. But she asked to be a member of the group. She made the Facebook request and they never accepted it, which I guess is their choice. So I simply said, and I said it in 2 parts of this, exactly the same way. I suggest that people attend the council meetings, talk to somebody who did, or talk to a counselor to understand what is actually discussed at the meetings. Based on most of these comments, it seems like none of this happened. A local student made the comment in the middle of a large comment, so sad to see how our city council is actively trying to kill downtown. The second time I made my comment, the original commenter on the original post, she said to me, sounds like you know, would you like to share with us here? And I said, I do know because I've been at all of these meetings. Someone posted a link to a video recording of the last council meeting in this thread. If you didn't attend this meeting, you should watch it. In the minutes from all of the other planning commission and council meetings are available on the city website. And after I made those 2 comments, everybody stopped. And they actually didn't take it down either, which you see that a lot on Facebook when people realize that they've said some ridiculous things. They'll often pull their comment. I made sure to print it before that happened. So I really wanted to read that for everybody to hear because I don't know if everybody goes to that group on Facebook to see these sort of things. This is the sort of stuff that's gone on for 2 years. And the fact that so many downtown business owners are leading that charge of misinformation is incredibly disappointing to me. And it's disappointing that they think me and everybody else here doesn't care and is trying to kill downtown. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
It's been a sad state of affairs for the last couple of years. You can't have thin skin and sit up here. You take a lot of abuse, a lot of beatings, but that's all right with me. I can take it, that's fine. We are doing the best we can for this city. And there's gonna be haters out there. No matter what happens, somebody's got a hater. So we're just gonna keep moving forward and the city is gonna keep going.
I like, one last thing which kind of hit home is the continued occasional commentary that specifically our planning commission doesn't contain the expertise or experience to facilitate public input or be planners. We are the planning commission. And almost without fail, those comments come from people that have never attended a single planning commission meeting and aren't aware of the makeup of our planning commission. So.
And we have a great planning commission.
We're very lucky. And I'm not saying, I'm the least common denominator on that commission. We have a lot of really great people on the planning commission.
Definitely.
The resume of our planning commission is scary.
That's okay.
What people of our planning commission have done in their lives, in their history, around this country, not just.
Like that guy back there.
They've worked in Dallas, they worked in California, and work all over this country.
That's great.
And they love Houghton, that's why they're in the planning commission.
That's great.
There's a lot of great talent out there. And the only reason they're here is because they love Houghton.
Is there anybody else who has a future agenda item they'd like to talk about?
Keep having fun in the city of Houghton. The weather's great. Shopping is wonderful.
As long as you got thick skin.
Yeah.
I agree with that. We should end on a high note. We need to take a lesson from Seinfeld, from George Costanza. We've got to go out on a high note. Before we make that high note, would you find what Eric had published in the paper, that two-part thing that he wrote? Is it already available on our website? Can we make it available on the website?
Good.
And the Facebook page? That would be awesome. Let's talk about beautification in the city. You touched on it. Holy cow, does our town look great. I mean, honestly, every time I turn around, there's some new big thing that they put in that's looking awesome. So that's the stuff that drives me. That's why Eric sees me out walking around town almost every night, because it's awesome what's going on in town.
Well,
That's
you're
my
welcome.
point.
You're welcome to bring a shovel and join us at any time.
Members welcome always.
Always.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.